Eddie Hazel, when he did Maggot Brain, he came in one day, a little down in the dumps, I guess, and George just surrounded Eddie, just put him in the middle of the floor out there in the studio and surrounded him with Marshall amps. And he just let him cry his heart out.
Eddie's a really emotional guy. As good as he could sing, he wouldn't sing many songs on the album because he'd get halfway through the song with his job and start crying.
And then what George did was just take everybody else out, the drums, the bass, and just kept Charles ding, 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 ding. When George had Eddie surrounded with all those amps, he told him to play like his mother had died. And that's what you got out of that. That's Maggot Brain.
When you get down into it, Funkadelic has arrived. Funkadelic has, made its case. We are the most authentic expression of the realities of black life.
Americans is Young was, wow, that was the first Funkadelic project that we worked on. We, meaning Boosie and his brother Catfish and our horn players, because we came from James Brown and formed later the group called the House Guests, and then George saw us and we became Funkadelic.
It wasn't until Boosie got fired from James Brown's band. I think they all took acid or something and got a little too high, and James Brown runs a tight ship. Boosie spoke on how it's different, James Brown was like, you're docked if you miss rehearsal, this and that. Have to play it like this, keep it the same every bar. George was like, do what you feel, baby.
Go to have a funky good time. 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 Take 'em up.
Boosie would help me put together something called P-Funk. He brought the one with him, the concept of what James was using. Then he brought Maceo and Fred with him, Pee-wee. So now we had an army.
The concept of the one is a deep concept. For Bootsy, it's a musical thing.
If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, you accent the one so hard that James Brown always we want the funk, give up the funk, oh, we want the funk. You know what I'm saying? Everything's hit on that downbeat.
But that's just the musical definition. There's a social, cosmological definition that has to do with everybody on the same pulse with the rhythms of the universe.
So the one is musically strong. The one in real life is strong. Everything's on the one, everybody together, and it makes things stronger.
Bootsy had much respect for George because George was not trying to stay in the norm African-American black bubble, the R&B and the soul thing.
Bootsy and George Clinton were joined at the hips, musically, funkily, spiritually, emotionally. It's like George would start a sentence and Bootsy would finish it in terms of the music. Bootsy was the bottom, he was the power, he was the thrust. And George was the brainiac, the genius who would capture it. And together in the funk market, they were the mighty funk duo.
I think one of my abilities in this, is to attract nuts, crazy folks, and then help them or let them do whatever they do. As a matter of fact, I tell them, do everything they tell you not to do in the studio. I can always take it off.
The best way to me in the studio for George is like title, funk referee. It's like you've got 20 individuals in the studio and he's in the center. And his ears are like, you know, he's got these like radars for ears and they're honing in all at the same time.
He was not the type of producer to tell you what to do. He was the type of producer to inspire you to do your best and just let you fly, let you do what you want, you know?
Say like maybe Michael Hampton is over in the corner noodling on a guitar line. Or someone's doing something or tapping a beat or maybe on the railing of some stairs. And George say, do that again?
My thing is getting stuff out of people and putting people together who wouldn't ordinarily work together. I have a lot of that, and the people who would hate each other if they had to, but through myself, they can work together and then appreciate themselves after for having done it.
One of the things that you might hear George do was, who's the worst singer in the room? All right, it's your turn. Get in there.
So he's just like soaking it in like a big sponge. He is enhancing and creating and enhancing and creating and putting it on wax.
Cosmic Slop is interesting because musically it shows George Clinton and the band's attempt to be as clean and accessible as possible with their funkadelic sound. However, George Clinton hired a young visual artist from Chicago named Pedro Bell to do the album artwork, which was anything but clean.
He did Cosmic Slop with these pimps and bugs and hoes and all kind of rotten characters with big cars and things, and it was funny as hell.
George would give Pedro a concept, and he'd go insane with it and just totally nail exactly what George wanted, as if George wrote it himself.
He could scribble in all his little statements like,
there is nothing harder to stop than an idea whose time has come to pass. Funkadelic is what time it is.
He was like our only place to see African Americans, Asian Americans, Chinese, girls with big butts instead of little skinny girls, girls with kinky hair.
But he came up with ways of interpreting whatever I was feeling or saying that satisfied me.
One thing that really draws me to George Clinton is his way of thinking. I actually got to watch him use language to shift the paradigm.
Hey, baby, here's the record and dance that's sweeping the country. The Parliament's up for the downstroke. Get up for the downstroke. Everybody get up. Get up for the downstroke. Everybody get up. Get up for the downstroke. Everybody get up.
The Parliament name became Free Again. From the first time, we made a deal with somebody who I always wanted to sing with, and that was Neil Bogart.
once George hooked up with him, the two had sort of like minds in terms of hustling and marketing and coming up with wild new ideas, and that's when he resurrected Parliament for real.
We did the first record was Up for the Downstroke. It did a little bit, made a little noise. Then we did Chocolate City. Made a lot of noise.
The scatological jazz riffing and vamping that was going on was unlike anything else in black music. And then to talk about Chocolate City and its vanilla suburbs was a way of really putting a black identity into black music at a time when integration was the theme.
What's happening, CC? They still call it the White House, but that's a temporary condition too. Can you dig it, CC?
People was talking about integration so much, folks forgot to talk about what is black America gonna be doing after all this integration. And George Clinton had a sense of a sociological vision that not everybody was up on.
God bless CC and his vanilla suburbs.
Funkadelic is more guitar radical. It's the rock side of what Parliament Funkadelic is. And Parliament is a more vocal side. Like you will see that there are more vocalists on the Parliament records than there may be on the Funkadelic records. Then you might see a little glimmer of both going in between. So, what difference?
Funkadelic is funky, Parliament is tight. You go with far out and funky as you can, make it as tight as you can. You bring that together, you're on the one with some P-Funk.
The combination of Bernie's crazy 11/13 over 18 minor over major chord, right there on the one, with Boosie's bass note, with that cymbal crash and with that heavy foot, all of that, and with the vocals, all of that, Aqua Boogie Baby, you know? Ow! I lay me down to sleep. With all of that coming at you, it was like the Big Bang, you know? It was too much to deny. The chord was heavy, the drums was heavy, the bass was heavy, the philosophy was heavy, the singing was gospel. It was like, that's when it started to gel. And that's when they became this, that's when they took it over.
The mothership connection, the concept behind that was, we had did Chocolate City, which concept was black people in places you didn't expect them to be. In the White House, Secretary of State, and all of that. So after that, it went over very well. After that, I said, now where else that you don't have black people there? You don't see black people for the most part. Outer space. Only one you saw was Aurora on Star Trek. So we said, okay, there's some niggas in outer space.
The mothership connection is just got so much power, so much concept, so much vision in it. It's hard to compare it to other music because it's spiritual, but it's in its own context.
Using street language, using street slang, people understood it, people related to it. Don't step on my funk, uncut funk, the bomb. Bring your music, get your shit, you know what I'm saying? It was the coolest thing out there.
You knew him as this guy from the street that, just like anybody else, you know, and he got with his homeboys and he took his whole homeboy crew and they did these big productions, but it was all based in streetness. So it's kind of like, you can look at him like he's like me, you know, I can relate to him.
So you had the P-Funk All-Stars in full effect at that point. And then the mothership connection takes the funk, takes the music to a whole other intergalactic, interplanetary level, full of affirmation. You've got all that is truly needed to save a dying world from its funklessness. That's what it says.
We got a whole history of music on one record. You know, with Fred, Maceo, and Boots, and myself, Bernie, and all of that was the mothership connection. All of that was connected to all of us.
Want you to know that the mothership has landed. It's time to tear the roof out the mother sucker. Direct to you from Chocolate City, may I present Parliament Funkadelic.
George Clinton had a sense that his band was the hottest, the largest, the strongest, and the heaviest in the business. And Neil Bogart, the owner of Casablanca Records, had a sense of giving people the biggest and most outrageous show that he could.
And, you know, they got advances, a little money or whatever, and all the members went out and they were like, yeah, man, we're gonna go out, we're gonna buy these Cadillacs, you know? So everybody wanted to buy big cars. And George, he was like, well, you know, we should take our money and invest it in this spaceship. And they're like, what the fuck you talking about, you know?
We started to tour with the mothership. We had Star Child, Bootsy, Dr. Funkenstein, the Brides of Funkenstein, and Booty Snatchers, and all that on the stage, a big production.
This is back in the 70s, and it wasn't like black acts had like huge budgets, you know, like a Kiss or somebody like that, so they were really doing it.